There are several ways to dimension your project in ARCHICAD. The first one we'll go over is automatic dimensioning. In order to place dimensions with automatic dimensioning, we take the arrow tool and draw a marquee around everything we'd like to dimension. Then we go into Document, Document Extras, Automatic Dimensioning. We have exterior and interior dimensions. Let's start with exterior dimensions. And we have some options here. Window and door dimensions can be dimensioned to the object center or the object endpoints. And then we can select dimensions of openings, dimensions of structures, dimension of external geometry, and our overall dimension. We can place a dimension just on one side, or we can place dimensions on 4 sides. We're going to select place dimensions on 4 sides. This will automatically dimension everything on the exterior of the project all the way around. Select OK. We can adjust the distance between the dimension lines. Click once and then click again. A hammer comes up. Click again with the hammer and that places all our dimension lines. Automatic dimensioning is also quite easy in ARCHICAD. Again, we select everything in our project and go into Document, Document Extras, then Automatic Dimensioning, then Interior Dimensioning. Choose from these parameters, whether it be the object center, object endpoints. On composites, we can dimension each skin or dimension the core only. Select OK. Draw our start line. End with a click. Take our hammer and place it where we'd like the dimension line to fall, whether it be here or outside the project. And now you can see we've dimensioned everything across that intersected the line that we drew earlier. Another relatively new and handy feature is secondary dimensions, and we'll take a look at how that works. We'll select this dimension line right here, and we've got 15 foot 4 inches. We'll go into Document, Document Extras, Secondary Dimensions, Convert Dimensions, and here we're going to convert this dimension into meters with 4 decimals. We can choose centimeter, millimeter. If we had meters, we could go back to feet, fractional inches, decimal feet, etc. We can select the number of decimals that we want this to go to. We can hide 0 holes and we can hide 0 decimals. I select OK. And now that 15 foot 4 inches has been converted to 4.6736 meters. We can also place dimensions by hand, so to speak, by going into our toolbox and selecting the dimension tool. And here we have several construction methods: linear, cumulative, baseline, and elevation. So say we'd like to put some linear dimensions here in the bathroom. We can click on our start and end points. And we double click. That brings up our hammer, and we can adjust with our mouse and the hammer the location of that dimension line. We can also dimension something that's on an angle. Now when we do that, we have this little diagram box here that will allow us to place this dimension several different ways. And you'll notice these little check marks here. If we bring our hammer down here, we'll dimension like that. If we have our hammer anywhere within this little angle created by these two check marks, we'll be putting our dimension in vertically. And this is new for the version 12 ARCHICAD and makes placing dimensions much quicker and easier than the previous method. Now right here we've got 1 foot 7¼ inches. We can adjust by going into Options, Project Preferences, Working Units and Levels, the degree to which fractions show. Right now we have 1/64th selected. We can bring that down to say 1/2 inch if we don't want to go down to 1/4 inch. That's for our working unit. That's for our working units and levels. And if we click next on our standard building scale, we can select to have 1/2 inches. We can select how we display 0 feet and inches. We can have our witness line scalability either scaled or fixed. We can revert all dimension text to automatic position or to a measured value. Here we can go through and select our dimension types and select the parameters for those different dimension types. Again, changing the degree of fractions that we want to show on the plan. We select OK. And now instead of 1 foot 7¼ we've got 1 foot 7 inch. I've taken that quarter and rounded it down to the 7 inches. With the X, Y only method selected, if we place a node on an angled wall, we will still be only to place our dimensions in a vertical or horizontal mode. The any direction method enables us to create dimension chains at a variety of positions relative to the element's position, either parallel to the first 2 reference points placed, or horizontal vertical, or parallel to another edge surface of our choice. I'll demonstrate that by placing reference points here, double clicking, and again now you can see we have a greater variety of points that we can use to make our measurement. The other measurement option we have is the arc length method. So if we have a arc drawn on the plan, we can select that. Now we've got reference nodes at either end, and then we can double click. Click once more time once we have the hammer in the position, and this will give us the length of that arc. You can see if we double click out here and place a dimension outside, again we have that same dimension, 7.5 inch for that arc. We also have an option in ARCHICAD to make a static dimension, and to do that we'll dimension the center line of these posts, and you'll notice if I move that post, the dimension moves along with it. It's associative. If we right click to bring up our context menu and select dimension selection settings, we have an option to make that a static dimension. Select OK, and now when we move that post, that dimension stays where it was. So we'll undo that. Alright, a terrific new feature in ARCHICAD is dimensioning a 3D document. And to do that, we bring up a view of what we want to dimension in the 3D window. And in our navigator, we go down to 3D documents and right click and select new 3D document. And we give it a name. We'll call it 3D dimensions and select create. And the computer will generate that section. Now we go into the dimension tool, and with the dimension tool selected, we can place our reference points where we like them. And start dimensioning our project in 3D. You can see as we move our cursor around, our dimension line wants to go in what might be considered a logical plane to the reference points. Let's go in and we'll make that text a little bigger. Now once we've created this 3D document, we're working on the internal ARCHICAD engine, so that limits some of our possibilities as to how this is going to look, but we do have some things that we can work with. With this selected, if we go into settings, we can select whether to auto rebuild the model or manual rebuild the model. We can redefine the 3D projections. We can select from some preset views. If I select this and click OK, and then OK, you'll see the model rebuild itself to the preset view. Our dimension line still being available to us. If we go back into settings, we can change some of the model display settings. We can select a uniform pen for cut elements, a uniform pen for uncut elements. We'll take a look at how that looks. We can turn on our vectorial 3D hatching and turn our vectorial sun shadow contours on. We'll see how that looks. So as you can see, there's various different things we can do working in that new 3D document. Now another thing worth noting when placing these dimension lines, say we try to pick up the dimension of this wall here and we double click. Here we're coming out in one direction, but say we want to go down. If we pick up the face of this wall here or down here, you'll notice that a little magnet comes up. Let's remove that guideline, and I can bring the dimension down in this direction. Click, and then click again, and that gives us a dimension. That way, instead of bringing it out perpendicular to the wall, we'll do the same thing going this way. We've got our magnet. Now we can bring that, click and bring that dimension line up as far as we'd like in that direction. Alright, now let's take a look. Say we go into an inside corner here, and we want to dimension the height of this wall. So we place our first 2 points and we double click. Now I have a little compass that's asking us which direction we want to place this dimension. So we click once with the magnet on that wall and click again, and now we have a dimension on that wall. When dimensioning in this view, we have this button up here that gives us different geometry methods. We can select the horizontal, vertical, or any plane. So with any plane we can bring this out. We'll see our little compass there. We can bring it this way against the wall. We can bring it to the right. We can also bring it out in this direction. So we've got a lot of flexibility with our 3D dimensioning tool, which adds additional functionality and enhances our ability to create understandable documentation. Let's say we want to edit this dimension line once it's placed. Alright, so if we want to edit this dimension line, and we click here once, and then we click again, you'll see we bring up a pet palette, and we can drag, insert, or merge a dimension point. We can align the dimension line. We can edit the length of the witness line, and we can offset the dimension plane. So let's see how these work. Alright, so the first thing we'll look at is dragging. With drag selected, we can move our dimension line closer to the building. Or move it back out. Click again, and we can insert a dimension point. Say we want to put in this point right here. Now we're showing the height of a concrete beam there. We can edit the length of the witness line. So we can bring that witness line, say, to here, so it doesn't actually touch the building. I'll undo that. And then the last selection, this is something we can only do in the 3D window, is offset the dimension plane. And we can bring our dimensions and have them offsetted in either of these directions. The last one we'll have to set a couple of more points so we can see how that works. We're going to put dimensions here, and we're going to bring them out here. Now we'll put our cursor there and click once. Click again to bring up our pet palette. And now we're going to align this dimension line. So what we'll do is we'll align this to the slope of this wall right here. And now this dimension line, we'll delete that one. Alright, we've deleted that other line, so now you can see that this line here has been aligned to the slope of this wall. So we've got a lot of flexibility dimensioning in our 3D window. Alright, now this all looks well and good, but unless we plan on printing out color documents for our builders, we're going to want to turn this into a line drawing, something that we can produce in quantities. So how do we do that? We'll go back into Settings, and we'll select Uniform Pen Color for uncut elements. Let's turn off hatching, transparency, select a white foreground. We'll turn off the sun shadows, select OK. And now we have what looks like a basic line drawing. that we can drop that view onto our plan, and that can be easily reproduced for our contractors to work with.